Welcome to my channel EDU Nursing. Today we are going to have a small discussion on a topic of convulsive disorder. This is the topic of child health nursing. Before starting the topic, let me remind you about the subscription. If till now you have not subscribed my channel, then kindly subscribe the channel, so whenever I will post a new video you will get a notification of it. So without wasting the time, we will start the topic convulsive disorder. So the word convulsion, or else you can call it as seizure, described as an involuntary violent spasm. It is an involuntary muscle movement or a series of jerking of face, trunk or extremities with or without loss of consciousness. It's not always the consciousness will going to be lost. It is going to be lost, but it is going to be for some period of time. There are some types of convulsion that also we will study today. So this is not like that, like always the consciousness will be lost for longer period of time. It can be get lost for shorter period of time as well. That's why with or without loss of consciousness, sensory, autonomic or behavioral disturbances. Next we will see status epilepticus. What is status epilepticus? That we will see. It is a severe form of seizure activity lasting more than 30 minutes or a recurrent seizure with failure to recover consciousness between repeated attack. Means once the attack will come, after 30 minutes it's not going to come. Okay, it is going to come before that, and it is going to last more than 30 minutes, and the consciousness is not going to regain back. So that is the status epilepticus, prolonged seizure. This is the definition of neonatal seizure. It is defined as a paroxysmal alteration in the neurological function. Paroxysmal means the sudden attack, sudden, or you can call it a sudden spasm with alteration in neurological function, that is behavioral, motor or autonomic function, either or all three occurring within 28 days. As you all know, neonates means baby from 0 day till 28 day. So in that period, that is 08 to 28 day, the child is going to have, or else neonate is going to have a paroxysmal, that is a sudden spasm, or repeated seizures will be there with alteration in the neurological function. In general, a convulsion or a seizure is a paroxysmal manifestation of neurological dysfunction. These are the incidences. As we can see, full term baby, it will be in 1000 baby you can see 3 cases. In preterm baby, 1000 baby you can see 60 cases. Infant, again it is going to be subdivided as per the weight of the child. Next you can see risk factor. There are some risk factor, major and minor. Mainly child less than 1 year of age is more prone to have neonatal convulsion or a seizure. Prolonged fever, hyperpyrexia and infection. There is a difference between prolonged fever and hyperpyrexia. Hyperpyrexia means the temperature is going to be more than 102 or 103 degree Fahrenheit, and in prolonged fever the temperature will be remain same. It will not be fluctuate, and it will be 101 to 102. This was the major risk factor. And the minor risk factor, family history of febrile seizure or febrile convulsion, family history of epilepsy, complex febrile seizure, or you can call it as complex febrile convulsion. Male gender are more prone to have this, and electrolyte imbalance. If there is electrolyte imbalance, loss of fluid, hypovolemic shock, if the child is in the hypovolemic shock, again this complication is going to be there. These are some etiological factor. In that also there is a division, not non-recurrent, that is acute, and recurrent, that is a chronic. Now again in the non-recurrent you will see a febrile episode, intracranial infection if inborn only if the child is having some intracranial infection like meningitis and encephalitis. Intracranial hemorrhage because of some injury child is having intracranial hemorrhage. Cerebral edema, brain tumor, anorexia. Toxic substances, if the child is having or exposure to the toxic substances in the intranatal period or after the delivery also, that is the drugs or tetanus or lead and all. Then metabolic alteration and hyperbilirubinemia, that is the jaundice. These are the non-recurrent or the acute. It can be cured very easily, but the next part is recurrent, that is a chronic. First of all, the cause will be idiopathic, which is unknown. Then the trauma, infections, like so many infections like rubella, syphilis and all. Then again congenital defects, if in the brain already there are congenital defects for the child, then again it is going to be happen. Then parasites, brain disease, hormonal disorder, if the child is having some hormonal disorders like diabetes, in born only if the mother is having diabetes, then after that hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, so these are some hormonal disorders. So may child may get the same, so because of that also it may happen. Hepatic disorder, allergy, sensory stimulus and migraine. This is the pathophysiology. Risk factor, because of the etiological factor, what may happen, that there will be a altered integrity of neuron in the epilepticogenic focus and hyperexcitability of the neuron will be there. First of all, what will be there, because of the etiological factor, we have seen non-recurrent and recurrent, two types of etiological factors. So because of that, what may happen, there will be a altered in the integrity of the neuron in the altered integrity of the neuron in the epilepticogenic focus, hyperexcitability of the neuron. There will be a alteration. There will be a alteration in the neuron. We can take an example of infection. If the child is having infection, as a etiological factor, child is having infection, because of that particular infection, the neuron will get affected, and because of that there will be a hyperexcitability of the neuron. After that, what is going to happen, there will be a partial depolarization. What is depolarization? Partial depolarization, some kind of activity, it's not to completely that particular neuron is going to be shut down. It is not going to be like that. The neurons activity will be there, but only less amount of, that is a partial depolarization. Partial electrical activity is going to be there. Thereafter that parietal stimulation of neurotransmitter molecules, then that small amount of activity, which is partial amount of activity which is happening in the neuron, that is going to give stimulus to the neurotransmitter. What is a neurotransmitter? It is going to give us an impulses. Then there will be imbalance release from excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitter. Means what will happen, the main excitability which is there present inside the neuron, so that is going to be inhibit and it is not going to reach till the neurotransmitter. Then lowered seizure threshold, there will be a less thresholds of the seizure. Then abnormal spontaneous spread of electrical impulses, the impulses are going to pass involuntarily. Means if I wanted to pick up some object, my brain will give impulses to my hand that this object need to be picked up. But if I will get a convulsion, the neurotransmitter will not be able to pass a proper impulses, and that electrical impulses are going to spread everywhere and my body will start jerking. Then discharge clinical manifestation, means after that the patient will show a symptom of seizure. Now convulsion classification and the clinical manifestation. First of all, there will be something known as febrile convulsion. A word itself says febrile convulsion means once the fever is going to be there, the child is going to get a convulsion. It refers to a seizure associated with fever, but excluding those related to CNS infection. It's not only it is going to because of some CNS infection is there, and because of that it can be because of like your temperature is going to be high, your temperature is going to increase, and because of that the electrical impulses will not be able to pass, because the hypothalamus will there will be an imbalance in the neurotransmitter, and the hypothalamus will not be able to maintain the body temperature, and because of that it may happen. Mainly children with 6 months to 5 years of age will be more prone to this. Then it has mainly two types, typical and atypical. So this is the difference between typical and atypical febrile convulsion. This may ask in your exam, so please note it. First of all, we will see typical. In the typical, the brief that is the your convulsion is going to be less than 15 minutes, whereas in the atypical it will be more than 15 minutes. In typical, it occurs in a solitary event. One attack in 24 hours means only one attack will be there in 24 hours, whereas there will be a repeated attack in the atypical febrile convulsion. Whereas in the typically generalized clonic-tonic seizure, only one kind of seizure will be there, that is a generalized clonic-tonic seizure. and in the atypical there will be maybe a focal seizure and tonic-clonic convulsion as well. Now what is generalized? Generalized means your whole body will get affected. There will be a clonic and tonic, that is a contraction and relaxation of the whole body will be there, whereas atypical there will be a focal means it is going to be focused on one part, or else it can be tonic-clonic convulsion. Okay, then followed by a brief period of post-critical drowsiness. There will be a partial drowsiness, whereas in the atypical convulsion there will be a prolonged period of the post-critical drowsiness will be there. Then EEG will be normal after the attack, but in this case, that is atypical kind of convulsion, which is quite more severe. In that, EEG will show the symptom of the convulsion, that is the electrical impulses will not be proper for more than 2 weeks. That's why in the EEG also the same finding you can find out. Next, tonic-clonic, these are some classification, that is the tonic-clonic seizure, that you can also call it as grand mal seizure. Then absence seizure, topical seizure, myoclonic seizure, whereas in the partial seizure there will be simple partial seizure. In that there will be with eliminatory symptom, like person will pass urine, stool and all, they will not have control over the bowel and bladder. Then no impaired consciousness, there will not be impaired of consciousness, but they will not have a control over the bowel and bladder. Then with motors of signs, that is Jackson's signs. Then with somatosensory, visual or auditory, like they will be having an auditory or visual impairment for some time only. Then autonomic manifestation, like the abdominal abscess will be there for some time. Then in the complex seizure, again in the partial, again there were two types, like simple and complex. Then in the complex seizure, again it's including psychomotor or temporary lobe seizure, like your psychomotor activity will be get diminished for some time, and with impaired consciousness, your consciousness also will go for some time. Then this is the tonic phase you can see, and this is the clonic phase, and the diagram you can see it very clearly. Now, what are the clinical diagnosis or the diagnostic evaluation which you have to carry out? First of all, there is supposed to be history collection. In the history collection, you have to ask maternal history, that is the basic information of the mother, like whether she has any kind of past history of convulsion, or else she has any hormonal issue, or else any hormones related disorder like diabetes, hypertension, hyperthyroidism and so on. Then the family history, labor and delivery history, labor during the delivery, whether any incident happened and any trauma to the child and all, like that also can be asked. Then baby condition at birth, especially the Apgar score need to be checked properly. Then neonatal examination, generalized examination, neurological examination, CBC saturation, that is SpO2 need to be checked, metabolic workup and infection workup, like you can check child liver function test, as well as you can take blood sample as well as urine sample for the culture. Then the culture can be taken, torch infection can be checked, IgM test, which is a kind of infectious test, which whether to see whether the child is having an immunoglobulin M activated in the body. Then CRP, that is C-reactive tube protein, can be checked, ABG analysis, inborn error of metabolism, CT scan, MRI, then EEG and lumbar puncture test also can be done. These are some complications of seizure, that is a cranial nerve palsy, that is a paralysis. Cranial nerve may get damaged permanently. Then raise of ICP, that is the intracranial pressure, because of the continuous pressure which is going to increase intraocular as well as intracranial. So there is a chance it will be a raise and shoot up of the intracranial pressure for the child. Then subdural effusion, cerebral palsy, that is the paralysis, hydrocephalus. Then again the child may be physically or mentally handicapped. Then learning disability and recurrence of the seizures. How you can prevent this? Regular ANC checkup can be done. Then treatment of infection during the ANC period, correction of anemia, and control the gestational diabetes. If the mother is having gestational diabetes means only during the gestational period, that is during the pregnancy, the the blood sugar level is going to be raised, that is the gestational diabetes. Training of local DICE and paramedical staff about the proper delivery and referral system. Raising awareness about the institutional delivery, mainly the home delivery should be avoided and the institutional delivery should be promoted. Then manage actively fetal distress. If the child is, there is a chance there is a prolonged delivery, or the baby is large for the gestational age, and also in that case there is a chance the child may be having an asphyxia. So in that case this is very common. So the fetal distress should be managed actively. Ensuring proper training of neonatal resuscitation. Now the management, medical management. First of all we will see the medical and then we will see the surgical management. In the medical management, the goal is supposed to be to control the convulsion and to treat the underlying pathology. If the first of all we have to control the convulsion, it should not be get repeated. So for that strenuous activity need to be decreased, and then to treat the underlying pathology, like if the child is having some kind of infection, so the pathology need to be treated. So first is initial stabilization. We have to check and establish TABC, that is temperature, airway, breathing, circulation of the child. Then as it is a febrile convulsion, so first will be temperature. You have to manage the temperature. Apply O2 and ventilation if it is required. Then establish IV access to provide the medicine, and take samples for the initial studies, that is blood as well as urine sample. Why the urine sample is required? To check the metabolic disorder. Then these are some drugs which can be given. The first line drug is benzodiazepines, that is a diazepam 0.5 mg per kg, that is as per the weight of the child. That lorazepam 0.05 to 0.1 mg per kg as per the weight of the child. It's supposed to be given sublingually, especially rectum or sublingually, but basically for the children they are giving rectally. Sublingual is very rare. Then midazolam 0.1 to 0.2 mg per kg, it can be given IV and IM. Dose may be repeated after 5 minutes, and up to 3 doses supposed to be given, and then we have to monitor the respiration. Then second like drug is phenytoin and barbiturate. So these are some again medicines which we are supposed to give to the child, that is phenytoin, phenobarbital. Then during giving this drug we have to monitor the blood pressure of the child. Then some carbazepine, sodium valproate and Revlimid can be given. This is a surgical management. First of all, first management is resective surgery. In that the nerve ending we are cutting. There will be a dissection of the nerve ending. Why we are cutting the nerve? So there will not be impulses which are going to pass. Then something known as callosotomy. You can see in the diagram which is in. So you are having one part in your brain, that is a corpus. So the part of the corpus will be partially open, so their impulses should not be passed within the brain. Like left side brain will not pass the impulses to right side, so there is a less chances of having convulsion. Then the next is multiple subpial section. In that again there will be a freezing of the nerve ending. And because of that the impulses will not be passed. So these are the main surgeries which are need to be carried out. So this was today's topic. This is the bibliography which I have referred for. So this was the end of the topic. So if you like the video, please like the video. Then again, if you have any query, you can ask in the comment box. I will surely try to guide it, and I can solve your query. Again, I'm reminding you about the subscription. If till now not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel and support. Thank you.